So the matchmaking of the UFC came through in a huge way today, as we have just found out that Gene Silva will be fighting Yair Rodriguez for the UFC's next UFC Noche event. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So happy. Yair Rodriguez, as you probably know if you've been watching me for a while, is one of my favorite fighters. El Pantera, so fun to watch. Some of the best striking I've seen. Such an artist when it comes to kicking, especially. Gene Silva, an absolute animal, literally, in the octagon. The guy's intensity and energy are truly unique. Them going head to head is picture perfect. It's picture perfect, and it's going to make that Noche event absolutely memorable. I'm not sure about bad blood being formed before the event takes place, but Yair Rodriguez is a very dramatic individual, and that's what I love about him. That's what makes me love him so much. So, don't doubt that there will be any bad blood before that fight happens, before fight night actually comes around. But first and foremost, let's talk about how I think the fight will go. Like I said, both of these guys are just super, super talented strikers, and it's already become a nightmare of mine that Gene Silva decides to grapple. But it's MMA, you got to mix the martial arts, so if Gene Silva wants to grapple, Yair could potentially be in a bit of trouble. Yair has been known to be trying to improve his grappling by a large amount. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen true leaps and bounds and improvement, but they could still be made. Maybe who knows? Maybe Yair has been on the mat all this time since his last fight. Who really knows? But I hope that's the case, because first and foremost, obviously, I want Yair to win. I'll be rooting for Yair. I'm even going to predict that Yair wins the fight, because I saw Diego Lopez knock Gene out, and if Diego can knock Gene out, I think Yair can do the same. Now, Gene, again, really, really talented striker. He's not a pushover when it comes to striking on defense and offense. But in those really sporadic, wild moments where anything can happen, those gray areas of a fight where fighters start throwing spinning elbows and jump knees, Gene can, overly get in harm's way, especially when he's over, when he's over eccentric, when he's over energized with his striking, when he overshoots or overthrows and leaves his chin exposed for an extra second. You can't do that against a fighter like Diego Lopez, and you especially can't do that against a fighter like Yair Rodriguez. Yair can pinpoint moments. He can throw those spinning elbows. He can throw these really weird elbows from weird angles. He can throw high kicks. He can throw jump knees. He can get off the ground really quickly and at a very, high level. So Gene's got to be really aware of that. That may cause Gene to go straight to the ground and try the grappling. And if he does, it's up to Yair to be very, very, very prepared for that. Because if he's not, he's going to get ragdolled, just like Brian Ortega ragdolled him. And I'd hate to see that. But it's possible. Gene Silva's a great grappler. Gene, unlike Yair, has a proven pedigree on the ground. He can lock in late round submissions or last ditch submissions. He can do that. He can get the takedowns. I just, I wish Yair could do the same. But again, at the very least, I'm hoping Yair will attend this fight with good takedown defense, with a nice clean sprawl, things that are going to negate the grappling pressure of Gene and force Gene to trade on the feet. That's where Yair can do the most damage. That's where he's most dangerous, when the fight is on the feet. And if Yair can kind of throw Gene off, maybe with punches and kicks from weird angles, or maybe with a lot of feints, Yair can do those things. He's super, super talented when it comes to striking. So I'm very, very excited for this fight. I'm going to go with Yair halfway through the fight. I think this is a 5-round bout. I'm not sure if it's 5 or 3. I'm going to assume it's 5. So if it's 5, round 3, TKO for Yair. If it's 3, round 2, TKO for Yair. I think Yair is going to land a kick. I'll predict a kick, because Gene's pretty short in comparison to Yair as well. And when you have these short but talented strikers, they can really have issues with the kicks, like Islam did against Volk. like I said, Islam would do against Ilya. You just got these shorter guys that have a harder time of evading the head kick. And if Yair can line up a head kick beautifully, especially in the middle of the fight where Gene is trying to do some real damage, he can land his shin off the top of Gene's dome and put Gene to sleep, like Diego did. It can happen. But again, Gene is very motivated. He's trying to build all the way back to a potential title fight. He's a member of the Fighting Nerds. The Fighting Nerds don't have a champion within their ranks just yet. Mauricio Hufi left, and I think Hufi was the one with the best shot, but now Carlos Prates seemingly has the best shot because he is going on a real tear in the welterweight division right now. But Gene, you know, he's in an interesting position right now in his career, you know, one that he can, you know, utilize to help put the Fighting Nerds further on the map, further into publicity, help get him a title shot sooner rather than later, or he slips up, he gets knocked out, which I am going to predict. He gets knocked out, and you really got to start from square one yet again. Maybe you start becoming a middle-of-the-pack sort of guy in the lightweight division. Maybe you consider a move to featherweight. You know, maybe you consider a move to flyweight. You know, a flyweight Gene sounds interesting. I know it's a heck of a weight cut, but when you still want to win, but you can't in a certain division, you do what a lot of other fighters do, and you look at multiple divisions, you know? But there will still be cards on the table for Gene Silva because he is a very, very talented fighter. He's a fun-to-watch fighter. He's motivated. He's got a great story. I don't hate Gene Silva. I'm not a fan of the Fighting Nerds. I've never been. And that was primarily because as soon as they kind of slightly made it on the map, they acted like they were already champions, which I didn't like. You know, you didn't get the Three Kings thing between Usman and Izzy and Francis Ngannou until the three of them actually became champions, you know? But you're getting the Fighting Nerds getting overhyped while none of them have a belt between them, you know? So I was glad to see Hufi leave. I think Hufi now has a much greater influence on him, or he has a much greater influence to learn from in Alexander Volkanovski rather than Kai Barallo or Carlos Prates. And I think that's going to take him to the next level. You know, learning from a fighter as legendary, as well-rounded as Alexander Volkanovski is only going to make Mauricio Hufi more well-rounded. It's going to help him patch those holes in his game. You know, suppose he does end up fighting Ilya in 2027. He'll actually be much more prepared because Ilya can grapple really well. But if Hufi knows how to keep, you know, his opponent off the ground and execute a really clean sprawl and figure out really good scrambles and find his way back to the feet time and time again, he can put fighters like Ilya or even Islam Makhachev in really, really big trouble if he can force him on the feet and force him to fight his game, you know, where he adorns that Conor McGregor-like flow state. But that's about Mauricio Hufi. I'm trying to stay on Gene Silva and Yair Rodriguez here because, again, it's a really big fight. It's a really excellent example of matchmaking in its purest and most perfect form. And I got to credit the UFC for making the fight. And above all, making it for UFC Noche, an event that celebrates, for lack of a better term, Hispanic culture. You know, and Yair Rodriguez is a, you know, pride and true Mexican. And Gene Silva is Brazilian, but still, you know, he's kind of part of that. He's got that Latin swag to him, I think. I'm just kind of spitballing with that one. But still, overall, it's a good fight. It's a fun fight. It's going to be an excellent fight to watch. Fireworks on the feet. It's going to be memorable. I'm hoping some bad blood will also be kind of cultivated during the build-up, and it likely will, because, again, Yair is a guy that's dramatic, and I love it about him. He's going to get into interviews, and he's going to say some stuff about the Fighting Nerds. He's going to end up saying something about the Fighting Nerds that Gene Silva will not like. Then Gene Silva will get into an interview and talk about Mexico, and Yair won't like that. And then the two of them will almost come to blows in a pre-fight press conference, and that'll generate a lot of attention. And then they'll step into the octagon and put on an amazing fight. Maybe, no, I don't think UFC Noche is this year. I think they're talking about UFC Noche for next year. But whichever year it actually will take place in, that fight will be a strong contender for Fight of the Year. You know? depending upon how much bad blood can be cultivated before fight night. But again, I look forward to it. It's going to be fun. Give me Yair Rodriguez in the middle of the fight via TKO against Gene Silva. I see him connecting a really, really big head kick that causes his shin to bounce off the temple of Gene Silva and send Gene Silva to La La Land, just like Diego Lopez was able to do to him. Let me know what you think.